If you are watching this right now and you want to stay ahead of what is actually moving in the crypto markets, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We post this kind of analysis first, and you do not want to miss the next one. Something just happened. And I do not say that lightly, because in this space there is a lot of noise, a lot of people telling you that this time is different, that this announcement changes everything. But today, I want you to sit with me for a moment, because what Ripple's CEO just said publicly, live on the record, is the kind of thing that does not come around often, and the market is already starting to react. Before we go any further, I want to be transparent with you about something important. Everything you are about to hear on this channel, on Wealth Chain Network, is for informational and educational purposes only. We are not financial advisors. Nothing in this video constitutes financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. Cryptocurrency markets are highly volatile and unpredictable. You can lose money. You should always do your own research and, where appropriate, consult with a qualified financial professional before making any investment decisions. With that said, let us get into what is actually happening. To understand why today's statement matters, you have to understand where Ripple and XRP have been for the last several years, because this is not a story that starts today. This is a story that has been building quietly, through legal battles, through regulatory uncertainty, through a period when most people in the mainstream financial world were not taking XRP seriously anymore, and yet here we are. Ripple, the company behind XRP, spent years locked in a legal dispute with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, a case that became one of the most closely watched regulatory battles in the entire history of cryptocurrency. The core question was whether XRP itself was a security, and the implications of that answer were enormous, not just for Ripple, not just for XRP holders, but for the entire question of how the United States was going to treat digital assets going forward. That case ended, and the resolution sent shockwaves through the market. But what happened after the resolution, the silence, the recalibration, the slow and deliberate repositioning that Ripple has been doing since then, that has been just as important, because Ripple did not come out of that fight diminished. They came out of it with something arguably more powerful: clarity, legal clarity, regulatory clarity, and a roadmap that very few other projects in this space can point to. Now, let us talk about what Brad Garlinghouse actually said, because the framing of it matters just as much as the content. This was not a press release. This was not a prepared corporate statement buried in the footnotes of an earnings report. This was live. It was real time. And that context tells you something important about where Ripple's leadership feels they stand right now. The statement addressed several things simultaneously. It addressed the current state of XRP's integration into real financial infrastructure. It addressed the ongoing expansion of Ripple's payments network, which now spans dozens of countries and is being used by institutions that, just a few years ago, would never have touched a digital asset publicly. And it addressed the broader regulatory environment in the United States and what Ripple sees as a genuine, meaningful shift in how Washington is approaching the crypto industry. What struck most people who were listening, and I want to be precise here because I am not going to overstate this, was not just what was said, but the confidence with which it was delivered. There was no hedging. There was no corporate speak. There was a CEO who looked directly at the camera and spoke about XRP's role in the future of global finance, not as a possibility, but as something already in motion, already happening, already being built. And when a CEO of that profile makes that kind of statement, publicly, live, without a safety net, the market pays attention, as it should. Now let us talk about price, because I know that is why many of you are here, and I want to be honest with you about what the market did and what it means and what it does not mean. XRP moved. It moved meaningfully. In a market where sentiment can shift in minutes, the reaction to this statement was not subtle. Volume picked up. The price action reflected genuine buying pressure, not just speculation, and there is a difference. Speculative pumps look a certain way. They spike fast, they lose structure quickly, they often retrace the entire move within hours. What we saw with XRP following this statement was something more measured, more deliberate, the kind of movement that suggests institutional awareness, not just retail excitement. Now, I want to be careful here, because making price predictions is not what this channel is about. What we are about is helping you understand context, and the context of this move is important. XRP has been consolidating for a meaningful period of time. It has been building what technical analysts would describe as a base, a period of accumulation where the price is not making dramatic moves in either direction, but the underlying fundamentals are continuing to develop. When an asset in that kind of structure receives a catalyst, a real catalyst, not a rumor, not a tweet, but a live CEO statement on camera, the response tends to be more sustained than the average pump. That does not mean the price goes straight up from here. Markets do not work that way. There will be pullbacks. There will be moments of doubt. There will be people who sell too early and people who hold too long. That is the nature of this market and, frankly, any market. But the directional signal from today, from what was said, from how the market responded, from the institutional context around it, that signal is worth paying close attention to. I want to zoom out for a moment because I think it is easy to get caught up in the day-to-day price movements and miss the larger story that is unfolding here. And the larger story is this: the infrastructure for digital finance is being built right now in real time, and XRP is positioned to be a meaningful part of that infrastructure in a way that most assets are not. Ripple's technology addresses a specific and very real problem: the movement of money across borders. Not in theory, not as a white paper concept, but as a functioning product being used by actual financial institutions right now. The correspondent banking system, the old system that moves money internationally, is slow, expensive, and opaque. Ripple's network offers speed, transparency, and cost efficiency. And as more institutions start to take that seriously, as more regulators start to provide the kind of clarity that allows those institutions to engage, the demand signal for XRP as a bridge currency becomes more concrete. This is the argument that Ripple has been making for years. And for years, it was an argument made against strong headwinds: regulatory uncertainty, market skepticism, the noise of hundreds of competing projects all claiming to be the future of finance. But those headwinds are shifting, not gone, not irrelevant, but shifting. And when you combine a shifting regulatory environment with expanding institutional adoption, with the CEO making the kind of confident public on-the-record statements we saw today, you start to see why people who have been patient with XRP are beginning to feel like that patience may be about to pay off. Again, not a guarantee. Nothing in this market is a guarantee. But the pieces are lining up in a way they have not lined up before. So what do you actually do with this information? What are the things worth watching in the days and weeks ahead as this story continues to develop? First, watch for any formal announcements that follow this statement. Live remarks from a CEO are often a precursor to something more structured: a partnership announcement, a regulatory filing, an institutional deal that has been in the works and is now ready to be made public. The statement today felt like the beginning of a communication, not the end of one. So pay attention to what comes next from Ripple's official channels. Second, watch the broader regulatory landscape. The environment in Washington is genuinely different right now than it was 2 or 3 years ago. There is more openness to working with crypto companies rather than simply penalizing them. That does not mean regulation is finished or settled. It is not. But the direction of travel matters. And the direction right now is more favorable to projects like Ripple that have been building compliant, institutional-grade infrastructure. Third, Lilice, and this is the one I would encourage you to sit with. Watch your own reaction to this news, because one of the most important things in navigating this market is self-awareness. Are you reacting to today's statement with calm, informed analysis? Or are you reacting with emotion, either excitement that might lead you to overcommit, or skepticism that might cause you to dismiss something genuinely significant? Neither extreme serves you well. What serves you well is staying grounded, staying informed, and making decisions that are consistent with your own risk tolerance and financial situation. That is what we are here for at Wealth Chain Network. Not to hype, not to predict, but to help you think clearly about what is happening in a space that moves fast and rewards the people who stay informed without losing their heads. What Ripple's CEO said today was significant. XRP's reaction to it was worth noting. And the story that is building around this project, the legal resolution, the institutional adoption, the regulatory shift, the expanding global network, that story is not over. It is, if anything, entering a new chapter. We will be watching it closely, and so should you. If this kind of analysis is useful to you, please share this video with someone who is trying to make sense of what is happening in crypto right now. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who are looking for something more than price predictions and hype. And if you are not already subscribed, now is a good time. We do this regularly, and the next one is coming. I am grateful you spent this time with us. Stay grounded, stay informed, and we will see you in the next one.